You go through your life and you just want the thrill. We as humans, we are wired to seeking that thrill, that rush of adrenaline. Sometimes there's no better feeling in our lives than that little rush of adrenaline, that little drama. Sometimes you just want a little bit of drama. Sometimes you just want something to make you feel something, especially in a life where a lot of the time things are boring and things are not like where you want them to be. You can kind of fall into that trap of seeking the thrill, of seeking that kind of heightened state of emotions. But I'm going to be talking about that in today's episode as to why that is something that we as humans kind of are prone to, but how it can actually be a bad thing, how it is a product of our environment, and how it can harm us going forward. But it's a very interesting concept, this idea of humans being thrill seekers. And of course, I have many examples, many different things I'm going to be talking about in today's episode. So welcome to the 365 podcast. As always, I make an episode every day for a whole year. If you're here, if you like this video, if you enjoy it, I encourage you to join me along this journey. We're getting through it. We're getting through the days. I'm trying my best to make as good content as I possibly can for you guys. So hopefully this is a banger. I think it is. I got some good stuff prepped for today and for episodes to come. So thank you for being here. Let's dive right into it. I make a podcast episode every single day for 365 days. You will be hated for speaking the truth.
You definitely have like an X-ray goggles on, where you can see someone's aura.
A house divided against itself shall not stand. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25.
If you want to make something of yourself, forget your political beliefs.
Because different believers experience God in different ways, different non-believers need different explanations to see God as real. Things that make you angry suck you in.
Satan's plan fails, right? And God's plan prevails.
So I'm going to pose a question to you. Why do you think a bunch of people, just for fun, they'll go skydiving? Or they'll go do some extreme stunt, let's say, just for fun. They'll swim in a tank with sharks swimming around them. Escape artists are going to be trying to put themselves in this insane situation. Why do you think we as humans subject ourselves to that? Obviously, that might not be something you're interested in. But believe it or not, you actually have that same little kind of mindset within you. Maybe it's not as extreme and it's not as manifested as some of these other people. Some people look at the types of people that skydive and do extreme sports or whatever, and they kind of question it. They're like, really? Like, you need to do skydiving? Like, it feels just so like unnecessary. You're risking such a thing, like, right? Like, or you can do like like mountain climbing, or like those people where you like jump off of a bridge and there's like in front of a river and there's like something holding you, preventing you from falling, like that type of stuff. It's like, why do we as humans like kind of go to those things? For some people they do, other people it's somewhere else, that type of thrill joyride seeking. But the reason is because we as humans have this mechanism within us where we want to feel something. Sometimes in our lives are boring and we just want to feel something more. So we seek that thrill, that rush of adrenaline, that rush that we're doing something, we're taking a big risk, right? We're risking our life in some extreme situations, right? And just the thrill of the ride. We want that high that the joyride kind of gives us. And that's why we kind of go to do extreme things at times. And well, it's also the reason why we watch shows and consume content, watch movies, play video games. All of that is actually connected. I'm going to be getting into that. But as I'm still trying to kind of warm you guys up to the content, the concept, introduce you to this idea that we as humans kind of have this internal mechanism where we're seeking that thrill. It has to do with our lives, right? It starts with how our lives are. I feel myself in my life personally that, yeah, I kind of want to do a bit more. Like, I want to go out there, experience new things. I want a little bit more novelty. And I definitely have an aspect where I want to just do some fun things, right? Some extraordinary things, right? If you want to live an extraordinary life, then, well, you got to do big things, right? You can't just do nothing and have your life be boring, right? But a lot of people's lives are boring, and that's just a fact. It's unfortunate. I wish many more people would get out there a little bit more, but unfortunately, that's just the way the world works, right? Sometimes a person has to wake up super early in the morning, work a full day, and they have no rest from kind of just their same daily routine, to the point where now they're just okay with their daily routine, but they don't realize how much more is possible from their life. than just waking up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep. So many people live a life like that. So no wonder why we have this little internal spirit, this internal thing in the back of our mind saying, let's go do something fun. We need to like feel something. We need to feel something that is better, higher, more different than what our actual life is. And that's why we kind of have that thrill-seeking mechanism within us as humans. And I think it is within all of us. It manifests itself in different ways. Obviously, for some people, it's the skydiving, it's the doing these extreme things. For other people, it's just just a novelty, traveling, going to see new sights, new cities, meeting new people and new cultures. That's a way you manifest that extraordinary life, that thrill. It's a thrill in and of itself. And then I think now is a good time for me to start talking about it. For the vast majority of us, that thrill is found in the content we consume. And I'm going to explain the idea here. We like to outsource, as humans, we outsource our experiences. Let me rephrase it. I want to rephrase it in a proper way so that you understand what I'm trying to say here. We will outsource our experiences to movies, to shows, to video games, to content in general, because our lives aren't as good as the lives of the people in these fabricated worlds. So we will outsource our joy to these things, right? So in a movie, there's a plot. In shows, there's a plot. In the video games, depending on the types of games you play, usually there's some sort of a plot, there's some sort of a story. The thing with these is that usually it always ends in a happy ending, right? Like if it's a show about a certain person, but the person is going through adversity, you know that they're going to get through it because the show is about that person. So you know it's kind of a spoiler. You know that they're not going to like be broken. They're not going to like they're not going to ever kind of be kicked out. Nothing bad's ever going to happen, right? That's kind of the thing with movies and shows and games and everything. It's a very dangerous way for us to outsource our life experiences, our joy to these things, because you're kind of depriving yourself of your real experiences. But yes, these things give you the same type of adrenaline rush, the feeling, the thrill, in the same way, maybe not as intense, but enough so that it can satisfy your craving in the same way as those more extreme things. Again, like the jumping out of the airplane example is just kind of the prime one, but of course there are many other things we as humans do, right? Like how would you explain like someone, swimming across the Atlantic Ocean or whatever? Because people have done that, and people are like that intense, right? They swim for 60 hours straight or whatever. Maybe they swim even more for even more time, like not across the Atlantic Ocean, but maybe across like some gulf, some lake, some sea of some sort. Why do people do stuff like that? You know what I mean? It's just an example. I'm trying to come up with examples of just crazy stuff we as humans do. And I think that can be kind of attributed to just our internal mechanism for seeking that thrill, for seeking that joyride, that extraordinary thing. And it's unfortunate because it's dangerous because we outsource that exact joy to content we consume. The problem with movies, with shows, with games, with everything else is that it's not your life, right? It is you just wasting time, right? Like taking up the time that you could be using to improve your own experiences and have that actual feeling for yourself and putting it into something that's just temporary, that's fake. It's a fake. It's a falsified world, right? It's video games, it's shows, it's movies. It's not real. Sometimes they're based on true experiences, but they always extrapolate on things, right? I watched the Michael movie recently. Sure, it's based off of true experiences, but the movie ended on a good note. He was performing on the stage, and it was like he was just, it was aura, right? It was an aura moment basically. And I think they're gonna make a second movie where they get deeper into the real ending to his life story, which, spoiler alert, was not as like good, right? It wasn't as wonderful and extravagant. It was very dark and depressing, the end to his life. So my point is it's very easy to fall into the trap of you want the adrenaline rush, want the hit, but instead of letting that be something that you do in your own life, you're extrapolating it and outsourcing it to movies, shows, and video games, which are all fake. It's just true. It's fake, right? You can do it if you want to have some fun, I guess. Like, you do want to enjoy your life in some regard, but you're depriving yourself of time, of experiences, of things that will actually feed those emotions and feed those feelings in a more fulfilling, better way than just staying at home and watching stuff, right? I've been watching a show recently, and I think actually the past couple of shows, like past couple of episodes on this show that I've done, have kind of been in relation to some of the lessons I've learned from watching that show, which is very interesting. It's very interesting that, yes, you can still get good life lessons from a show depending on the type of show you're watching. I don't think the show I'm watching is complete garbage. I think there's actually a lot of interesting concepts when it comes to human relations, psychology, like interpersonal relationships, that type of thing, and it's all very important, right? And it's kind of been the foundation for a few ideas this last week or so, and it is the foundation for this idea because I'm looking at it and it's like the show is like basically I'll just talk about it, right? The show introduced a character, right? I don't know. I'm watching the show called Doctor House. I don't know why I'm embarrassed to say it. I'm embarrassed to say because I personally talk a lot of crap about shows, and now I'm just watching this show because I mean honestly it's good stuff. It's funny, and well, I'm enjoying it. So I'm trying to calm down, right? But in that show, they recently, like in the part that I'm in, they recently introduced a character who's very annoying, and he kind of ruins the flow of everything, right? He's come in and he's like basically broken up the main group and like psychologically turned them against each other type of thing. And there's something to say to that. There's something very interesting as to like, how does your life go, right? It's some good lessons in there of how like human psychology. It's interesting. That's why I watch it. Obviously, it's funny, but it's also very interesting. But what I've also learned from it is it's like this is not everybody's life, right? This is not reality. It is just a TV show. It is just a Netflix series, right? Or if it's a movie, or if it's a video game, it's the same thing in these other things because it's not real life. Right? You never see the bad. You sometimes see a little bit of bad, but at the end of the bad, you will overcome them. Right? You will overcome those bad moments, and they'll all live happily ever after. Usually, the end of the episode, like things work out. Right? For the patient that they're treating, it works out. Right? If you don't know what Doctor House is, it's about a show where there's this doctor who's basically like a narcissist, but like he also gets everything done, and somehow through miracle they manage to treat the patients with the craziest diseases. And now, like, this new guy, like, the kind of, a guy paid money to buy the hospital, and now he's come in and he's being an idiot, and it's pissing me off. But then I have to kind of take a step back and remember, okay, why am I so mad at this guy, right? Why am I so mad at this guy in a show that's kind of ruining the flow of everything? I'm mad because that's actually, like, closer to what reality feels like than the rest of the show, right? Your life's not going to be extraordinary every day. It's not going to be filled with just some intense feeling and that thrill. You're not going to feel it every single day. But actually, a person that comes in and ruins stuff for you is more likely than it always being good, right? So I hate him, but actually it's like that's kind of how life is. Where it's like there will be that one guy that kind of pisses you off, or that would be that situation that is not perfect, that throws you off. Again, but in the shows and the movies and the video games, you don't see it, right? You're very rarely going to see it. Sometimes they do, but very rarely does the movie end and like everyone's depressed and distraught and scarred for the rest of their life and there's no happy ending, right? It's a depressing, sad ending to the movie. Sometimes they do it. But 95% of movies, shows, and video games end in a good way. It always ends with the victory. It always ends with them coming up with the solution to then achieving what they wanted to achieve, whoever the protagonist was, achieving what they wanted to achieve, accomplishing the goals, overcoming the adversity, and coming out on top. In your life, that's not realistic to say that it's that linear, that it's that easy. So that's kind of the trap that these things can bring to you. Because you want that thrill, you want those extraordinary things to happen, so you outsource it by watching movies, by watching shows, by watching video games, but they will never actually fill that void. They will never actually fill that gap up. It'll just be like it'll fill it up a little bit. It'll satisfy the craving for the moment. But then when push comes to shove, what actually matters is how you live your actual life in your day to day. If you continue to be average, your life's going to continue to be average. If you continue to do the same thing every day, it's going to continue to be boring, right? You got to look for that new experience in some way. But it can't be extrapolating, outsourcing your life through content that we consume, things that you play, whatever. Like for example, like another example is like I like Pokemon, I play Pokemon. But if you as like the Pokemon player, if you were to go to the league, you basically beat the league, you want to beat the champion, right? That's the whole point of the games. If you go and you lose the battle, there's no 2-month cutscene of your character then going back home and sitting in his bed crying, eating ice cream, being depressed because he's a failure. No. You black out, you show up at the Pokemon Center, you heal your Pokemon, and you go back in like it never happened. Because that's the point of the story, is that there is no cutscene for if you fail. There's only like the just going back, resetting, and in terms of the canon of the story, it's as if you failing never happened. Because when you succeed, then the rest of the story plays, and it all ends happily ever after, right? In that case. I think it's actually a very solid example. Again, I'm using Pokemon as an example, but it's a very solid example to say that, like, that's not life, right? So you're kind of tricking yourself into thinking that everything's going to be good if you go and you seek that thrill, you want that extraordinary thing to happen. It'll all end well. Sometimes it just doesn't end well, right? In the shows and the movies and the video games, it will always end well because that's how it's been designed. But you have to remember that it is all fake. So if you're going to be outsourcing your joy to these things, just know that that's not going to satisfy you. It's not going to it'll satisfy the craving temporarily and maybe a little bit, but not as much if you in comparison to actually if you go out there and do those extraordinary things. You go out there and go above and beyond in your life, experience those new things, and try and find that thrill for yourself. I think the overall message of this podcast, I'm kind of talking about a bunch of different things kind of intertwined into one concept, but the point of this podcast is to say that we are thrill seekers. We do want those extraordinary things to happen internally, but sometimes that feeling gets abused by shows, movies, video games, and other types of content that kind of keeps you hooked and keeps you from actually experiencing those things in your life. But at the same time, you have to be very careful because those exact things that you're consuming are not realistic to what would actually happen in your life. So you have to be very careful if you're going to do like some real experience in your life that is that exact thrill seeking, that exact joyride that you're looking for. It's not going to be the same as, it'll probably be very good, it'll be very fun, but it's not going to be the same as what you're dealing with in the shows. With the show that I'm watching right now, Dr. House, it's kind of making me feel like, oh, I want that, right? Internally, I'm feeling like, oh, I want that, where I just want some drama, I want some love, like some love story, some psychological, dramatic, hyper-dramatic situation, and just the thrill, and at the other side of it is something good. Like, it makes me think, oh, that's what I want in my life. But then I kind of have to take a step back and be like, no, that's actually not really what I want in my life. It's just the show making me feel these feelings. I want, I have an idea of what I want in my life, of course. I want to glorify God. I want to abide by Christian values. I do want to do extraordinary things. I want to make it successful. But it's not going to be as easy and as thrill-seeking as the situation that happened in the show. It's the same thing in every other content we consume. And then you wonder why we all get so addicted to these things. We wonder why it's all so addicting for us. Why people fall into rabbit holes of scrolling, of watching movies, of playing video games, of shows, right? And it's all these things, and I'm sure there are a few other mechanisms that are online that cause us to fall into it. It's because these things prey on these types of exact emotions that our lives are boring and we want something more dramatic. We want something to make us feel something greater. So then we turn to these shows instead of actually going out and getting it ourselves. We turn to these shows, these things, as a way of doing that. But but the problem is it's a trap because it's never going to make us truly feel satisfied with ourselves and with our lives. You're going to watch the show for a few episodes. Maybe you stay up super late because you fall into the rabbit hole. And then you have to wake up next morning and go back to your normal life. And if your life is a boring life, then it makes it even more depressing, right? And then that's how you get hooked, because that's the only thing that can kind of take you away from your boring life. And in extreme situations, that thing becomes drugs, it becomes alcohol, it becomes things that actually destroy you in an even worse way. So then you wonder why we all get addicted to these things, because they actually prey directly on deep human emotions that we do want to feel something greater than the life we currently live. But the real answer to that question is you have to go out there and experience things yourself. You have to go out there and push past whatever boundaries and fears of things happening. Like, you have to push through that because well, again, constantly going towards these things, it's never going to satisfy you. It's probably only going to make it worse. It's only through your experiences that you can be able to do it. But you have to recognize that because we've all been kind of poisoned in our minds that the shows, the movies, the games, that's life. It's not life. Your life is not going to be as simple as you go through something, you do some extraordinary thing, and on the other side of it is like, the happily ever after, right? It doesn't usually end in a happily ever after. Unfortunately, that's life. Some lives just don't end in the happily ever after. When it comes to the Dr. House show, it's just a show about doctors, they're not going to show the moments where they fail to save the patient, where the patient dies. They're not going to show the moments where it's just an average day and nothing crazy happens, right? Like they're only going to show that crazy time, and that it poisons our minds because that's what it starts to make us think, oh, that's what you want. And I see it in myself, right? It starts to make you think that's what you want, that those are the things you want, you just want that drama. But you actually, the shows and the movies skip the bad parts, or at least skip the very bad parts. Maybe some bad parts are shown, but they skip the parts of life that are just real, which is like if that patient actually dies, if you actually do fail on that thing that you do, right? Going back to the Pokemon example, if you do fail on that journey, there's no cutscene for it, right? There's no episode in Dr. House about when they fail to save the patient. Maybe there is in the future, but so far as I've watched it, it's been they always come very close, and he has to take some huge risk that goes against medical guidelines. But at the end of the day, they do save the patient, and at the end of the day, he ends up being right. And then even if they hate him, they know that he's still right and he's very good at his job. But like that's kind of like a lie. That's not going to happen every single time in your life. It's not going to be that easy. So while we do have that thrill-seeking mindset that is within all of us, you have to be very careful when using it, because if you go in with the expectation that it's always all going to work out great, you're kind of going to be disappointed at times because well, it's not going to be that simple. It's not going to be as easy and as linear as movies, shows, video games, and everything else depicts it as. Your life's going to be a lot different. There's going to be a lot more setbacks, right? Like God has something planned for you that's something completely different. You're going to be broken down. It's not going to be easy, right? Maybe at the end of it all, if you are fortunate enough and if you keep persevering, you can eventually get to that point where things work out. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen for everyone. And not everyone gets to that point where they're truly at peace with themselves, or they're truly able to experience and extract every joy out of life possible. Not everyone gets to that point. But I think the first step is by trying a little bit harder. If your life is boring, if you do find that you are addicted to some of these things, one or multiple of these things, because you are trying to, you're trying to extrapolate your life to something that isn't your own life. If you find that you're kind of falling into these patterns, just do something new. Do something different. Like, just pick a day that you have a little bit of free time and do something different. Something that you kind of want to do, but maybe for so long you've been scared of doing because of just fear. But all fears are like fake, really. If it's like going to travel somewhere, if it's doing something with your friends that you haven't done, if it's going to some event, some party, some festival, whatever that thing might look like for you that you don't want to do, then or you want to do but you're fearful, and that fear has kept you stagnant, and instead push you towards the fakeness which is in the content and which is in the internet and all this stuff we consume. Find something that you can do today or tomorrow that is a little bit different and a little bit more fulfilling for you and a little bit new than what you've currently gone through in your life. And you'll find that probably satisfies you and fulfills you way more than wasting time playing video games, watching shows, watching movies, or scrolling, or doing any of that. Being on the internet really for any reason. You'll find that through experience, things will get better. And through experience, you'll be able to actually satisfy those cravings, get that adrenaline rush. Right? For me, as a guy that's played a lot of sports, like, that's kind of what sports give you. Sports is a good one, right? Sports really, it's not really the thrill, but there's a lot of drama sometimes. There's a lot of anger, I think, at times. there's a lot of beef. There's a lot of interesting situations that happen, and in the actual game on the field, there's a lot of there's a lot of adrenaline that's being pumped into your system, and it's great, right? Like, I think throughout my life, I've been lucky enough to experience a lot of these feelings quite often, but not everyone gets to experience them, right? So that's my call. That is my call for you, is to understand that this is how it works. I think, like, this is just my theory. This is just my idea. But I've truly believed through my own experience and through what's happening is that we outsource our joy to these exact platforms, to these exact things that are online, because our lives aren't good enough. Because our lives are boring. Our lives don't have that drama. But internally, we want that. We want that little extra thing to make us feel something different than what we're currently experiencing. So I'd say go out and get it, but don't get it through outsourcing it. Get it through actually experiencing different things, better things, and pushing through those fears. But always remember that your life's not going to be like a movie in the sense of it's always going to be easy, it's always going to work out perfectly in the end. No, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be problems, there's going to be things that come super close to breaking you, and at times things that do break you. Because it's not going to be perfect. It might not end happily ever after like it does in all of these shows, movies, games, and everything else. But understand that to kind of extract joy out of life, you got to go and make these great things happen. But the only way you can do that is by getting up, getting out of your house, and going for it. Doing it. Doing those things that truly make life great and can truly fulfill you and satisfy that craving. And you can kind of push forward in your life. That thrill that we're all seeking. We all want it. I think we all do internally. Whether that thrill be drama, or if it be just like a love story, or if it be literally just jumping out of a plane because you want the adrenaline. It can show itself in your life in many different ways, but you just have to make that choice yourself. That you're going to say, okay, the life that I'm living, clearly there's some improvements that we need to make. So let's go. Let's start making those improvements. Let's start getting the most joy we can out of our lives. And I think through it all, trust in God, have great faith, because faith is the ultimate counter to fear. And usually the reason why your life is boring and the reason why you want those thrills, you want that drama, but you don't have any of it, is because you're acting in fear instead of faith. So have great faith, and that will allow you to overcome the fears that you have in your life. And that in turn can help you live a better life, a more fruitful life, filled with more joy, more fulfillment, more new experiences. And the more new experiences you can go through, the better you'll feel, truly. But always remember, that it's not going to be as perfect as it ends up being in all of these shows, movies, and games, and in all the things that we consume that kind of try to convince us that it always ends up good. Understand that there will be tough times. There will be times where it does not end up in the perfect way. The puzzle pieces don't fit in the perfect place. But on the other side of it, at the end of it all, ideally, you look back on your life and you appreciate it, because you appreciate those moments. You appreciate the good and the bad throughout your life. And you look back and you're like, yeah, I lived a good life. And that's kind of what we all want to do. But we all have that internal thrill-seeking mindset within us. These games, shows, and movies, as well as everything else, and again, extreme situations, drugs and alcohol, play towards that, and they'll play with our emotions to get us to be addicted to them instead of actually being addicted to our own life. You should want to do things in your own life instead of extrapolating it to just content you consume. So I think that is all I got to say for today. When it comes to thrill seeking, I think that's the way to go. We all want to seek these thrills. We all want the drama. We all want the love story. We all want all of it. The only way you can get it is by going out there, putting yourself out there yourself. It's not going to come to you. It's not going to lay at your feet. And it's definitely not going to come to you if you're just watching shows and movies and playing video games and wasting your time just consuming instead of actually being the creator, being the light and soul of the world, actually getting out there and doing the things that you internally really want to do and finding that thrill, finding that adrenaline in whatever way possible. So that is my call to you. Go out there, find good things in your life through experience, push through those fears, have faith over fear, and let that kind of be how you go through things. Understand that it's never going to be perfect, but your life will be much better if you have a level of emotion that is greater than just kind of the boring day-to-day thing that so many people go through, and you're probably going through a certain level of it yourself. So that's what I got to say for today. again, I don't know why. I don't know. I find it embarrassing. That's why I kind of took a while to mention that I was watching Doctor House. Like it's embarrassing a little bit to me because I talk a lot of crap about the shows, and now I'm kind of falling into a little bit of the rabbit hole. I try my best to control it, but for the same reasons that I fall into it, because I look at my life the same way that I'm telling you guys about these lessons. I look at my life that it's like I need to do more, right? I need to stop kind of doing the same things every day and find new things to do and find things that truly fulfill me in a greater way than just the current way my life is going. And in my work, it's obviously not anything anywhere near as intense and dramatic as what happens in the show, right? Because it's life, right? It's life, and your actual work environment is not going to be the same. So that's what I'm saying, is that's like, I see this in my life, so that's why I'm making this episode talking to you. Because I think it's also a lesson for me, what I have to do for myself. So that's why I make these episodes of this show, because it's going to be exactly that. The fact that I'm going through these things, I know what the proper direction is. So I'm speaking my ideas out for you, but also for me, that I may stop extrapolating my life into these other things and move towards better things, towards real experiences. So I talk about these things because that's my life, and that's why I kind of felt embarrassed to talk about the show. But again, it's my podcast, so I'm going to be vulnerable and completely honest with what I'm doing in my life and the things I'm learning in my life through my experiences and through watching the show, which it is definitely, like, even if it's a show and you're wasting your time, it's actually still taught me a few things. And because I'm a guy that likes to think, if you didn't know already, because I make a podcast every day, I'm a guy that likes to think a lot. The show has actually helped me find some perspective in things. I'm the only guy that would get like a life lesson from Pokemon. I'm the only guy that would get a life lesson from a TV show, right? From a TV show that's not even really meant to teach you many things like that. It's just meant to entertain you, but I managed to find the life lessons in there because I'm trying to do better. I'm not trying to be addicted to these things. I'm trying to do better. And, well, I fall sometimes, and of course you'll fall sometimes. It won't be perfect, but keep striving. Keep trying to prioritize that experience rather than extrapolating it, outsourcing it to things like movies, shows, and video games, and scrolling, and all of that. So that's all I got to say for today. That is my message, that yes, this thrill seeking is within all of us. You got to learn to control it and kind of tap into it yourself in your life. You can get truly very addicted if you fall into those traps that all of these things on the internet are just openly there trying to abuse. So just be careful. Be wary. Walk the path. Walk the straight line. Try and figure it out. Know that you're going to fall. Know that it's not going to be perfect, but keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. And eventually you'll get to the point where you want to go. I truly believe that. Continue to do what you can in your life. That's all I got to say for today in the episode of this episode of the show. Thank you for watching. As always, show your support in every way that you can. Like the video, subscribe on YouTube, and follow on Spotify if you haven't yet. I appreciate you for being here, for watching this episode. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something about yourself, about what your life kind of looks like and why you fall into certain patterns and behaviors. I hope that this episode kind of opened your eyes to a couple of these things and a couple of these ideas. Forgive me for a little bit of stuttering today. I'm kind of trying to rush a little bit and go a little bit fast through it. But yes, I have to kind of be a little bit more wary of my words and not try to stutter a little bit. I have to make a few cuts in this episode because I stuttered a little bit too much at times. So again, bear with me. I'm continuing to improve myself in my life, but I'm also trying to give you guys the best lessons I possibly can with the information that I have. And hopefully it's good. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in any way that you can if you did enjoy it. But thank you for watching, and I'm going to sign off now in the way I always do. Continue to glorify God in all that you do throughout your life. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for the next episode.